Hello all, welcome to study 38 of the Solving Studies to Improve Chess Calculation series, another study for us to practice. This one came from the school teacher Vasily Dolgov. He made around 400 studies, but of course he dedicated his life to be a teacher in the secondary school of the village of Dmitrievskaya in the Krasnodar territory, Russia. Probably because there was not much chess action over there. He dedicated more to chess compositions and he made some brilliant ones. Let's enjoy it also. Uh, the position, I think it's a bit simple. White is fighting for a draw, so enjoy this one. Try to be precise. Uh, as always, if you haven't watched the guide, and if you have watched the guide, you know that the countdown will start, and then I see you after with a solution. And as always, let's start with the right first move, which is b7 check, and the king goes in front of the pawn. Okay, this one I think it's easy to discover. What happens in the position? Of course, the rook has to deal with the promotion of the pawn. So either we check it or we need to come with the rook, but let's see what happens. If I go, for example, to control the promotion to d1, well, then simply black advance the other pawn. Now, even if white first takes the knight, then black reaches this incredible connected passive pawns against the rook is a win. Even if the rook goes to control one, then we get this ending the queen against the rook, and it's winning for black, so losing for white. Again, if you haven't, this is a good opportunity for me to promote my master class on the queen versus rook endgame, because it's not easy. If you think it's easy and the player is just going to quit, you are going to be surprised in a over the board game for sure. So be sure that you are always controlling also queen versus rook endgame. But of course, it's a win for black. The other possibility is going behind the pawn, but of course, we can advance c4 attacking the rook, because due to the special place of the knight at the moment, we can take the pawn, otherwise it's going to be fork and then the pawn promotes. So no good also for white, and it will be a lost very soon. So we need to find a different way. And let's start by the check. The king goes in front, and now again we need to control the pawn. But now it's a bit different, because we can bring the rook. This is the correct continuation. So we attack the pawn. We already saw the best is to play c4 from the defense perspective, because at the moment the pawn is untouchable, the d2 pawn is untouchable, because otherwise I will have that fork. But now, because the king is not controlling the access of the rook to the d file, we can check the king. Of course, the king won't come here, otherwise I promote to queen. So the king takes the pawn, and so it's white to play again. This is the small win that we get when we check and force the king away from controlling the d file. Now, of course, white shouldn't take the knight, because again the pawns will beat the rook. The rook is behind the pawns. We saw that on also the series of the rook versus pawns and games, and we saw there that the king needs to be in front of the pawns so we can control them. Otherwise, the rook loses for two connected passive pawns like this one. And special because the pawn is going to reach the seventh rank, another thing that we learned on that series about the rook versus pawns end game. So this is a lost end game. So we can take the knight, and the idea is, okay, then we need to go with the king in front of the pawns, and so we need to do that just now. This is the brilliant continuation. So we are going to abandon taking the knight to help the rook to control the pawns. And of course, black now, because of course the king got away from the fork, so now white is threatening to take the pawn, so easy again. Black will advance the pawn, so we keep approaching. Now advancing the pawn is not enough, because we take with the king and we are already controlling the pawn, so at least the draw is guaranteed. And so black brings the knight. I can take the knight, because otherwise the pawn advanced 2 pawns on the 7 will win again. So it's white to play. The king goes in front simply, and now it's black. Black tries to take away the king from the front of the pawns, and the king is forced to move away, and now goes to the other side. But again, black can't progress, and if it tries back, then we just repeat. So that's not a progression. And if we go to the other side, well, we simply go also with the king staying in front of the pawns, and now if we attack the rook, we simply can, for example, take 1 pound. The king takes the rook, and then we get the other pawn, and it's a draw. And even if the knight tries to keep away, well, even if we want, we can now sacrifice the rook, for example. We can even do this, and it's just a draw. Of course, we can keep going on trying to trick black and things like this one. but at least it's a draw. So I hope you have enjoyed this one. Was not that hard, I think. It's good mix from harder ones with easy ones. That's the way we should practice. And getting these studies without knowing what will be the position and starting the countdown as soon as, or at least very short from the beginning. It's a good way to get real practice, like in a real game. Hope you have enjoyed, and of course, see you again in future studies. Bye bye.